So good morning, everybody. My name is Reverend Dr. Ron Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast Sunday morning celebration. And if you've never been to a Center for Spiritual Living before, we believe there's one God, many paths to that God, and we're here to love, honor, and support you, no matter what your divine path is. And the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast is a safe haven for people of all beliefs and lifestyles, whoever you are, and wherever you find yourself on your journey of faith, you're welcome here. And to begin our service this morning, Reverend Jenna Watkins is going to open us with a prayer, and then Barb, one of our congregants, is going to do a reading for us.
So as you settle into your chair, your seat, just release any tension from the week, from the day, from the morning. Breathing in and letting go. Breathing in and letting go. And let us remember that we are the instrument. We are the heart of the divine. We are the hands of the infinite. We are the instrument through which spirit expresses itself. And I know right here, right now, in this moment, we accept and we receive the peace of spirit flowing through us, invading every aspect of our beingness, our mind, our body, our hearts, flowing out of our hands, that we might infect people with peace wherever we go. Each and every person who touches our experience, touches our beingness, feels a little more peaceful. And I know that that love of spirit, that infinite love, that unconditional love that just embraces each and every one of us, holding it dear in its heart and hands, is flowing through us, that we may hold dear every person we come in contact with. We are the heart and hands of spirit. We are the instrument that brings this love forth. And we do so easily, for we know and we embrace the truth of our beingness, that we are spirit expressing as peace and love and harmony and wholeness. And as we come together today in community, we embrace the fact that this is a community filled with love and peace and harmony, that we are there to support each other, to laugh with each other, to cry with each other. We are there in support, and when you embrace all who come forward to experience our community as one with us. And this spirit of love, this spirit of peace flows through Reverend Ron. Flowing through him, I know that he is inspired, that he hears so deeply the voice of spirit, that what he has to share for each and every one of us is a hint, an idea, a thought, an aha, that allows us to go deeper within our own selves, that allows us to become an ever broader instrument of love of spirit. I give thanks for our community. I give thanks for Reverend Ron. We are blessed. We are blessed in the presence of spirit. And I release my word into the law, knowing it is done, and so it is.
Many of you may remember the Desiderata from the 1970s. That's when I first became aware of it. Anyway, this is the Desiderata, and it's written by Max Ehrman, although there had been some debate about that in the past, but that's been confirmed. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery, but let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe. No less than the trees and the stars, you have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it's still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy.
Thank you, Reverend Jenna, and thank you, Barb. So, with all the hubbub and division and everything going on in our country, I just want to speak today as a reminder, again, how we really belong to one another. And so my message title today is honoring each other. And the real beauty in life is with one another. We are really God's gift to one another, but so often we forget it. Saint Augustine used to talk about how we marvel at mountains and the ocean and waves and the stars. And he said, and yet we pass by one another without the least bit of wonder. The fact is, we are God's greatest creation, you and me. Think about that for a moment. The greatest problem that we have in our life, though, is we see separation. We isolate ourselves and we build prisons around our heart. The basic message that Jesus was trying to tell us all is about oneness, and not just oneness with God or with spirit, but oneness with one another. And he challenged us to see the divinity in one another and to treat each other with love, with honor, and respect. Sometimes in our harried world, that it seems really difficult to make the connection. But I know, because I talk to so many people, that so many of us yearn for a gentler, kinder time. But it doesn't take much to express some kindness. We can reach out to others with unconditional love. We can be kind to somebody without expecting anything back in return. And we can think about this. Now, we can love one another because Spirit loved all of us first. The Dalai Lama, when people ask him what his religion is, he says, my religion is kindness. And I'm guessing, I would bet that every single person who's viewing this now or who views it later has someone in their life that could really use a little kindness right now. So why not make a phone call, send a card, write a letter, make a phone call, and just touch somebody else. You know, one of the things that never ceases to amaze me is how a little bit of kindness can bring so much joy into other people's lives. And what's really interesting is babies crave this connection too. You know, they've proven that they can have a baby that's fed regularly and changed regularly and all of that done. But if they're not held and they're not cradled, they can die. I read a story once about Mother Teresa. She was visiting some kind of orphanage where there weren't enough volunteers. So all of the babies' basic needs were taken care of, but there was no time for the volunteers or the nurses to nurture them and hold them. And she came across one little child whose muscles were rigid and they were spasming, they were all tight. And she looked down at this little child and she took him in her arms and she started to hum to him and to massage him. And in like almost no time at all, the baby relaxed, the spasms stopped, and he was at least temporarily healed. You know, Piero Ferrucci is a psychologist in Italy, and he writes about a number of different spiritual topics, kindness being one of them. And in one of his books, he tells a story about a little old lady who stopped eating. She felt alone and she felt forgotten by everybody. So she was just basically waiting to die. Even though she wasn't sick, there was nothing wrong with her. And Piero had an aunt named Melina who used to go around to nursing homes and volunteer. So she happened to run into this woman. She saw this woman in her bed and they started to chat. And this woman was telling her how her children were too busy to visit her and no one comes to see her. And Melina, for whatever reason, offered her some ice cream and she took it. And Melina saw that she needed more than food. She needed care and she needed attention, just like all of us do. And what she realized was this lady's color began to return, but it was less because of the food and more because somebody showed her that they cared. Robert V. Taylor wrote a book called A New Way to Be Human. In fact, in our book club, we didn't get through the whole book, but we did do some of it. And Robert is gay. And at times in his life, he struggled with that. And one day he asked himself a question, and I'm not going to do the whole question, but this is the gist of it. He basically asked himself, what does a spiritual life of integrity look like? What does a spiritual life of integrity look like? And the answer that came to him was he needed to accept himself and to live in wholeness and to be grateful and accept who he was. And he said that as he moved into that the gratitude took him beyond acceptance. And what it revealed to him was that he is his brother and his sister, and he should live accordingly to that. And he said, your life and your spirituality is never, never just about you. He said, when you feed the hungry, when you tutor a child, when you affirm the dignity of another person, your consciousness shifts. And when that happens in some small way, the world changes. And he wrote about a congregation, actually two congregations, of a Jewish synagogue and a Lutheran church that began to get together, and they shared meals, they shared stories, and they even did some education work together. And one night, in the middle of the night, the rabbi is awakened with a phone call that his synagogue is on fire and it burns to the ground. And the rabbi is thinking to himself, our highest holy day is coming soon. What am I going to do? And the Lutheran pastor says to him, you got my church, use my space. And so when the people in the Jewish congregation go to prepare and to set up, they see a sight that brings them to tears. And what this sight was that the congregation of the Lutheran church had removed the large cross that was the focal point of the room that they were going to use to hold their service. And the Lutheran pastor said to them, because we learned from being with you that some Christians use the cross as a sign to persecute Jews, we made the decision to take it down because we know who we are and we treasure the shared spiritual path that we walk with you. Meister Eckhart wrote, you need to love all persons as yourself, esteeming them and considering them alike. What happens to another, whether it be joy or sorrow, happens to you. So I'm reading a book called The Gentle Art of Blessing. I actually have been reading it for a while. I've put it down since I'm writing my book, but it's written by a fellow named Pierre Pratervand. And I want to read you one short paragraph that he has in the book. He wrote, as you walk, bless the city in which you live, its government and its teachers, its nurses and street sweepers, its children and bankers, its priests and prostitutes. The minute anyone expresses the least aggression or unkindness to you, respond with a blessing. Bless them totally, sincerely, joyfully. For such blessings are a shield that protects them from the innocence of their misdeed and deflects the arrow that was aimed at you. So what really touched me about that was all of the people he's talking about, priests and prostitutes. We're all one. We're all God's children. And he's telling us, bless them all. You know, Wayne Dyer writes on that too, and he talks about how our ego separates us, or our ego insists that we're separate. And Dyer says, could you imagine a wave or a drop of water believing that it's separate from the ocean. When we see ourselves connected to everyone, we stop judging. When we see ourselves connected to this same silent spiritual force, how we know there isn't any separateness. Compassion becomes automatic when we see all of humanity as unified and indivisible. And then he takes a moment and he quotes from John Donne: "No man is an island entire of himself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main." And Dyer says, those words remind us how we need each other. Ernest Holmes, who founded the Center for Spiritual Living, asks the question, how can we love God whom we have not seen unless we love our fellow man whom we have seen? So I read an article this week by a lady named Trish Thorpe, and the article was 10 ways we can deepen our connection with others. And I want to talk a little bit about the article. I'm not going to do all 10. I'm going to do 5. And what struck me about the power of this article is how simple most of the things are, how easy it is to deepen our connection with other people. So here's the first thing she said: smile, smile. She said that it's a simple way to connect, and you never know when a smile will come at the perfect moment that somebody needs it. And what I noticed when I read that even in this time of COVID-19, when Becky and I go out to Publix or wherever we are, you can tell when someone's smiling, even if they have a mask on. You know, you can't see their lips, but something happens to the rest of our face when we smile, whether it's our eyes or whatever it is, but you can tell. And then she says another thing is schedule quality time, whether it's with your partner or a friend, schedule a date night or a lunch. And I know that's more difficult in this time, but we can't stop running and connect. We can make a phone call. We could do a Zoom call like this. It doesn't have to be with a congregation. It could be with a buddy. You know, I've been trying to call. We have a number of people who live alone, and I've been trying to call everybody who lives alone every week. And I really do hear how thankful people are. We do a Zoom call every Tuesday at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time. And since we've been doing this Sunday get together, fewer people come on. So I asked about a week ago, do you want to knock these off? And the message I got, no, this is our time to connect. Don't stop it. So we haven't. A third thing she said is listen with your heart. Really, really listen and be present with people when we're in a conversation. And a fourth thing she said is be present and focused on the other people in your life, the other person you're speaking to. She said, ask about their family, ask about their job, their hobbies, their goals, their values. She said, and then really listen and be with them at the moment. And the last thing I'll touch on is she said, be authentic. Don't masquerade as somebody that you're not. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Share yourself with those you care about, because what that does, it allows them to share with you and to be vulnerable too. A few weeks ago, we did a service at 1:00 on a Monday afternoon because the United Nations had declared it I think it was World Peace Day. And one of the things that we did during the service was my wife, Becky, who is a practitioner emeritus, she and I read a piece that was written by Thich Nhat Hanh called Please Call Me by My True Names. And so I asked Becky if we could do it this morning like we did it that day. And I said then, it's a little dated because it was written years ago, but the message is really powerful and really clear. Please call me by my true names. Do not say that I'll depart tomorrow, because even today I still arrive. Look deeply. I arrive in every second, to be a bud on a spring branch, to be a tiny bird with wings still fragile, learning to sing in my new nest, to be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding itself in a stone.
I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, in order to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that are alive.
I am the mayfly metamorphizing on the surface of the river, and I am the bird which, when spring comes, arrives in time to eat the mayfly.
I am the frog swimming happily in the clear pond, and I am also the grass snake who, approaching in silence, feeds itself on the frog.
I am a child in Uganda, all skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks. And I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda.
I am the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I am the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving.
I am a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands. And I am the man who has to pay his debt of blood to my people, dying slowly in a forced labor camp.
My joy is like spring, so warm it makes flowers bloom in all walks of life. My pain is like a river of tears, so full it fills the 4 oceans.
Please call me by my true names so I can hear all my cries and laughs at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one.
Please call me by my true names so I can wake up, and so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion.
Jack Kornfield is a Buddhist teacher. And in, I believe it's his book, After the Ecstasy, The Laundry, he tells this vignette. And a Trappist monk told him this story, and it's pretty much a fable. And it's a story, a fable about a magic monastery. And a monk, a Trappist monk, visits this monastery because he wanted the big answers, the big answers. So they take him to a room and he sits all day waiting for the big answer, all day, and nothing comes. And he sits all night waiting for this big answer, and nothing comes. And sometime in the middle of the night, he hears a voice that says, "What are you leaving out?" And he looks all around, and there's nobody else in the room. And then he hears the voice again. "What are you leaving out?" And he looks, and then the voice becomes louder and more persistent and it's like filling the room. What are you leaving out? What are you leaving out? And he thinks he's going crazy, and he's got to get out of the room and find some human comfort. And so he runs out of the room and he knocks on the cell door of the monk next to him, who's tight asleep. And the monk says, "What do you want?" And he answers, "What am I leaving out?" And the monk says, "Me." And he runs to the next door and he knocks and he wakes up the next monk. And the next monk says, "What do you want?" And he says, "What am I leaving out?" And the monk says, "Me." And this happens over and over. Every door he knocks on, they say, "What do you want?" And he says, "What am I leaving out?" And they say, "Me." And he says to himself, these people are all too self-obsessed. I've got to get out of this building. So he runs out of the building. And when he runs out, the sun is coming up. And he looks up, he said, "I never spoke to the sun before." And I looked at the sun and I said, "What am I leaving out?" And the sun said, "Me." And it was too much for him. So he threw himself on the ground. And as he was lying on the ground, he heard the earth say, "Me too." And Jack Kornfield says, that story points us to the challenge of spiritual maturity. If we want to open our heart to all the world, we must leave nothing out. If we wish to love God, we must love all of God's creation. And that includes ourselves with all our complexity and all our imperfections. So I want to end with this. I read something this week, and the author said his first love of this on the screen was Audrey Hepburn. And he read an article about her in some fashion magazine, and the reporter said to her, "So can you tell me a little about your philosophy?" And this is some of what she said. She said, "For attractive lips, speak words of kindness. For lovely eyes, seek out the good in people. For a slim figure, share your food with the hungry. For poise, walk with the knowledge you never walk alone. And if you ever need a helping hand, you'll find one at the end of each of your arms." God bless you. Thank you for being here this morning, and have a wonderful week.